Welcome to the Wealthy Business Goddess Show for purpose-driven, passion-fueled spiritual entrepreneurs ready to live their purpose, passion and prosperity as they create the life and business of their dreams whilst transforming the world, doing what they love and making fabulous money. Each week we bring you inspiring and empowering topics, popular thought leaders to empower you to transform all areas of your life and business. With your host, spiritual intuitive, entrepreneur, transformational business coach and mentor, Kimberly Lovell.
Hi sweethearts, it's Kimberly Lovell, your host of the Wealthy Business Goddess Show, and I am super excited to share with you a wonderful guest today, Bree Seeley. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Bree. Bree is an amazing woman. She's an inspirational woman, and she supports women around the world to bring their visions to life. Bree is motivated by a deeply held belief that every woman deserves to live a life that inspires her, and her work reflects this deep remembering of the possibility, nay, inevitability, that our desires hold. Through her best-selling book, podcast, and 6-month training, Permission to Leap will guide you through the process of leaping from the day you commit to the day you land softly on the other side. Bree is a catalyst, speaker, and author, a regular contributor to the Huffington Post, and influensive, and is known by many for her tell it like it is, out-of-the-box guidance that creates massive and epic changes in every woman she encounters. Bree has been featured on NBC's The Today Show, Forbes, Inc., Medium, PBS, and Free Enterprise, quite the celebrity. Bree received the Outstanding Small Business Award from the Los Angeles Mayor's Office and the Small Business Development Center in 2016. Bree, you're amazing.
Hi. Thank you.
Hi, I'm so glad that you're joining us.
Me too. Thank you for the invitation.
You are welcome. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about your book and this whole concept about the leap, and the part that I think is huge, up for me at the minute and up for a lot of the women I'm working with, is this thing around permission. So yeah, I'm super excited about what we're diving into, and yeah, I'm also kind of like amazed in terms of all of your TV appearances and so forth. So yeah, cool.
Thanks. Lots of strategy going behind all, like when you're in business. Yes, of course, my zone of genius is to serve, right? Like that's what I'd prefer to be doing all day, every day. But having been an entrepreneur for a decade, I also understand that all the different areas and angles and aspects of a business are so important. And so things like, I just had a PR intern who she spent 4 months just pitching me to multiple press outlets, getting me on podcasts, getting me in front of outlets, things like that. And, it's a not fun part of the business for me, like the pitching part. I love being of service, right? Like I love showing up and serving. Yeah. But I've found a way for the areas that are not my zone of genius. Yeah. I find a way to get an intern or hire a consultant or do something, because if I were to just focus on serving, I'm sure that would be fine. Like I would have a fine business. But I'm looking to build an empire. And so when you're looking to build something to that scale, it's so important to have the press behind you and make sure your social media is on point and like all these other aspects of it. So yeah.
Amazing. And I know we've talked often on the show around, the whole kind of genius zone, and I think one of the things that really ties in with your book and what we're talking about is this whole thing about sometimes as women entrepreneurs feeling like we have to do it all, whilst like really what we want is to do what we love, and what we came here to do, to live our purpose and our passion, and it seems like there's so many things to do. And what I've been noticing, because as you're saying, there is so much strategy behind, having a successful business, and we want the successful business in order to be able to create the platform and to serve the people that we're here to serve. But sometimes that can get really tiring. And so, the delegation and really being clear on what it is that we love and so on. And so I guess, what I see as I'm inspired by all that you're doing. What I see for a lot of women is this thing around, let's say, a fear of being more visible and being more out there in the world, and some stuff around, you know, validation and comparison. And what I love from your book, and you know, like I said just before we got on, I kind of read it in the middle of the night. What I kind of think is really amazing is about, you know, giving ourselves that permission to be all of who we are and to do things our way, and the way that is aligned with who we are. So I wonder if you might like to talk more about, you know, like what you see as the hurdle and how you've moved through that, you know, in terms of the leap that you've taken.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. And I think what a lot of people don't get, and personally what I had no idea about when I said yes to this journey, was how much healing work it takes and how much you really have to be purposeful and work tirelessly on your inner landscape in order to be an entrepreneur in the world today, especially an entrepreneur that I would say is more of like like in the conscious realm of entrepreneurship, right? Like, we're not building corporations that are the sole purpose is to go out and gouge money from people and, you know, like that kind of stuff. So those of us that are coming into conscious entrepreneurship have to do that work. If you have fears around being seen, you have got to find a way not just to get over them, but to go through them and heal them once and for all. Because of course there's going to be different layers. Once you heal one layer, there's going to be another layer that pops up. But if you're not doing that work, you're never going to be able to create what it is that you desire in the world. So like right now, I'm doing some massive like sacral chakra healing, like massive healing. And I was talking to a friend about it last night, and he's like, well, you know, but what are you doing about it? And I'm like, I have 2 Reiki sessions scheduled in the next week. I have a hypnotherapy session scheduled. I'm reading this book. I have every single day I'm taking baths and I'm doing crystal work and meditation and like all these things, because this particular thing that I'm working on healing right now has been with me for my entire life. And I'm so done with it. And in order for me to move on to the next evolution of my life and business, it literally can't exist in my sphere any longer. And so I think that that's one thing that really kind of gets overlooked. We come into this thinking, oh, I want to serve others, which is great and fantastic and so necessary. And in order to do so, we have to first serve ourselves and do the healing work associated with that. And that really, you know, again, that whole conversation of permission is so important in this. If you're not giving yourself permission to do that work, to be perfect and divine exactly where you are, and allow yourself the space you need to heal whatever it is that's coming up for you, you know, your business will likely always suffer. And so that's one thing that I'm really passionate about, especially for entrepreneurs. People always, they're like, oh, I want to do what you do. And I'm like, don't say that, because you don't know what it takes for me to show up like I do every single day. You know, unless you're really, truly committed to that level of healing, growth, and transformation, you know, you can't just go to someone else's life and be like, well, I want to emulate what you're doing. A lot of people don't get to see the back end stuff that it takes, you know, the tears and the processing. Yeah. The
skins that we shed. I mean, I've had, like, I keep having to add the years on, but it's something like 30, maybe a bit more than that, in personal development. And so you know, it's been my life and I love it. And you know, I love what you're saying. That's my thing completely, in terms of, you know, business is the biggest personal development journey we're ever going to take, and everything that we need to look at is going to come up and you know, in our face, like it or not. And the way, you know, the only way through it is to go through it and to heal it and to clear it. And I think that, you know, so often I know when I look at my life and my business, it's those things that maybe, you know, that we haven't completely resolved, where we have that gap, you know, from where we are now to where we want to be. You know, I know that if there's a gap there, it's either, you know, me needing to be a bit more patient, and often, you know, there's unconscious blocks there that need to be cleared. And it is a process, and it is ongoing, no matter how many years we've been in, you know, the healing profession or we're working on ourselves. So I love that, bring that
I'm
up.
in that gap right now.
Yeah, I think we all are, you know, to an extent, because we have these big visions. And so there's sometimes this illusion when we look at other people and we see their success that, you know, oh, that's amazing, I wish I was there and I'm not there yet. And, you know, kind of like beating ourselves up. But actually, it kind of feels like there always is going to be a gap, because we are seeing what's possible, and there's always room for progression and expansion and greater possibility. But often we make ourselves wrong for being in that gap. So
yeah, and that's something, I mean, and that's definitely one of the things that I'm working on, you know, while you and I talked, I'm quote unquote on holiday right now. I don't think that we ever fully get a holiday, but it's fine. And while I'm here, while I'm away, I'm working on all this stuff. And I was just having these same conversations yesterday of being in that gap and being in that place where, like, I'm insatiable. Like, I 2 weeks ago just launched a best-selling book, and it's not enough, right? Like, I've been going through this I'm calling it my post-creation hangover. And like, it's this weird place where I'm in the middle of what has come and what is yet to come.
Yeah, let's pause you then and let's go woohoo.
I know, right? Thank you. It's good, and I'm learning to receive and, like, really honor what I've created and be present with that. And there's still this, like, I have so much more yet still to do. It's this interesting, it's like high achiever syndrome or something, but it's really interesting, and I'm doing my best to be present to it, and honestly at this point just kind of bear witness to what it is, because I want to find a place where I can still be a high achieving individual and be completely and utterly satisfied with exactly where I am right now in this moment. And there has to be a way, I'm convinced there has to be a way for those two things to coexist. But I don't know what it looks like yet.
It's interesting, because as I'm listening to you, I'm kind of getting curious about your archetypes. I work with the archetypes, or the money archetypes, and I'm like, oh, I think I know what your top one might be. It's interesting, that whole thing about the I kind of say, like, you know, I'm a recovering workaholic, and I don't know about the recovering word really, because, you know, for me, you know, we do what we love and it is our passion, and you know, so that's all good. And sometimes it is that, you know, we need to have perhaps a different balance, because we are, I don't know, so loving what we're doing and driven. And that's kind of, you know, what I've noticed, and with a lot of the women I work with, that have like this queen energy. It's, you know, you're talking about building your empire, so it's kind of like the ruler archetype in the sacred money archetypes I work with. It's the ruler archetype, and it's like that, you know, it is never enough. There's always this sense of frustration and impatience, because we know that there's more that's possible. And then we're driven, and it's a little bit like a hamster wheel sometimes, you know. But you know, yeah, we kind of like want it all now, and there's more, and so we can never stop. And it feels sometimes like it comes back to that unconscious belief that I'm not enough, or what we're doing isn't enough. We're not doing enough, when, you know, we know on some level it's about who we're being. So maybe you can speak to that. And
yeah, I've definitely been doing some enoughness work this year. I did some rapid transformational therapy, which is a form of hypnotherapy, earlier this year. And that was kind of like the point that it boiled down to, right? And it's both a blessing and a curse, I think, to be the kind of person I am, because and I don't know if it even relates back to the enoughness or not. I haven't quite gotten down to the essence of all of it yet, but being a visionary, I always see possibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what I do. In fact, it's what my business is, right? Like, I see the possibility within women, their visions,
Yeah.
and then I get to support them in creating that. Like, that's my business. That's my zone of genius. And so it's also, though, a curse, because, you know, I look at, say, where I am right now, and I'm like, but it's not what it's not what's possible for me. I know what's possible for me, and because I know what's possible for me, I shouldn't be existing where I'm existing right now. Or I look at someone else. This has happened in dating before. Like, I see the possibility for the person that I'm with, and some people don't want to see their possibility.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful place to be, because I know what I'm capable of. Actually, I severely underestimate what I'm capable of, but I see that possibility, and I know that there's more there. And I know that there's more that's possible for the other people in my life, and not everyone wants to know that. And so it becomes this interesting dance and fluctuation between, you know, how much do I share with other people? How much do I keep to myself? How do I just stay in the present moment and really enjoy where I am without feeling like I'm failing, because I know what I'm possible of. I know what's coming in the future. I can see it. And yeah, again, like, I don't know if I have an answer to any of this. It's all kind of stuff that, you know, I'm clearly in the midst of working through a lot of this stuff and starting to dive into what it looks like, and having these I've been having a lot of these conversations lately, mostly with friends. Last night over grilled cheese at midnight at a cafe. But yeah, it's this whole, like, learning how to be here in the present, but also expanding into my future is an interesting place that I previously in the past have just pushed and just been unhappy and been unsatisfied and pushed towards the future. And now I think I'm coming into this new place of evolution where I'm learning how to be whole in the moment, regardless of what my physical world looks like, knowing that my physical world is going to change. That's inevitable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all these weird juxtapositions that I feel like I am putting on I'm shedding something right now, and I'm putting on something new, and it's still a little, I like, you know, when you put on something new and you kind of like look in the mirror and you kind of like move around in it a little bit and like get comfortable. And I feel like I'm in that stage of my next evolution. Like, I'm trying it on, and I'm like kind of settling into it, maybe like making a few adjustments here and there. It'll be interesting.
That's funny. I had a jumper arrive the other day, and it looks really pretty. And I put it on there. And I had some other. It's like a same jumper that I've got in a different colour, right? I loved it so much. I thought I'll have two, right? Because, you know, we're always wanting more. So I got it, and I tried it on, and it didn't quite fit quite right. But exactly what you're talking of, and that is, I think, you know, what we're doing when we are trying to kind of like, well, we're in that process of expanding and aligning with who we are and who we're becoming. Yeah. Because I know I was kind of putting it on, looking in the mirror and thinking, well, this bit sticks out a little bit, and like, well, why is it the other one wasn't like that? And I was kind of comparing two, you know. But yeah, I just loved how you're sharing that. And I think that, you know, this is a big year for lots of women. It feels almost like it's kind of like the phoenix rising out the ashes, like a year of invention. And a lot of fire energy obviously happening. So there's a lot that's being shared, and a lot that's kind of, you know, bursting into life and waiting to, you know, come forth. So it's powerful.
Yeah. It was, I don't know if you follow numerology at all, but 2017 has been a 1 year, which is all about newness and birth and, you know, all that stuff. And it's funny because as I closed out, I ended 2016 in Bali. And I was like, I'm going to spend the last 2 weeks in Bali, really close out this 9-year cycle, because so the universal year is a 1 year this year, and my personal year is a 1 year. So my personal energy is aligned with universal energy.
Yay.
So it's like magnified for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm closing out this 9-year cycle really powerfully. Like next year, boom, January 1st, new energy. It's a 1-1-1 day, like everything's going to be different, blah, blah, blah. And this year has been absolutely that, right? Like I wrote a book this year. The book came to me in January. It got released in November. Like it's been a year of newness. And the thing that I forgot to take into account is that just because new energy comes in doesn't mean that our physical world adjusts so instantaneously, right? Like energy can adjust instantaneously.
Yeah.
Our physical world takes more time because the manifestation of it is denser, right? So this year for me has been, yes, all about that new energy, and my physical world has been clearing out. Like I shut down a business this year. I closed a podcast. I ended a business partnership. I ended my 10-week training that had been working like gangbusters, and it stopped being what was aligned for me to be teaching. Like everything about my messaging, my business, who I am, like the only thing that stayed consistent this year is my home. That's it. And like, I swear everything else has changed. And it's something that I underestimated looking forward into this year. And I'm really excited to see what next year holds, because next year is a year about the seeds that were planted germinating and coming to fruition, and like basically harvesting and like that kind of stuff. So yeah, this has been an interesting year. And I found that with a lot of my clients and my people as well, is that we all had this false sense that like everything was going to like transform instantaneously and magically overnight. It did. And, our physical realm is having to play catch up now as well.
Yeah. I think, everything is a process, isn't it? And so much of the time, when we're impatient, it's like we want it, we're over it already. It's like, yeah, because we've got that visionary nature and we've already kind of thought it. And so it's like energetically, we've been there and done that. And then I think that's where I noticed for me, like the frustration can come in, because I'm wanting to move on to the next thing. But as you're saying, it's kind of that process, and the physical stuff takes a little bit longer. And so it's about being kind to our bodies, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes I haven't been as kind to my body. I'm kind of like, pushing, and because I'm on to the next thing, and then I'm, and it's like actually, what you were saying in terms of acknowledging acknowledging and celebrating what we've created, and allowing ourselves that space and that time to actually celebrate and just pause and reflect and honor that creation, really. I think it is a little bit kinder to us and to our bodies and business.
I have definitely deepened my celebration practice this year, and I'm one that celebrates everything. And what I realized was that I was kind of celebrating superficially. Like I love champagne. Unfortunately, I'm now allergic to it, so I don't really get to drink it, but I love champagne. And that used to be my thing, where I would be like, yay, I hit a milestone, glass of champagne, celebrating. Okay, next. And this year I've really allowed myself to just sink deeper into the celebration instead of trying to push past on to the next thing, but like really sitting in it and giving myself space to honor what I've created, and to honor, and honestly, a lot of it comes with forgiveness work as well too, because I've done this imperfectly, and it's just all sorts of stuff going on the behind the scenes stuff that people don't see. So I have been learning to deepen my celebratory practices, and like really truly celebrate, not just have this like illusion of celebration just because I think I should, or because I, quote unquote, have to.
Yeah.
And so even in me being in Seattle for 2 weeks, even though I'm processing and healing, is a lot of celebration for me. It's lots of, I'm sitting next to the fireplace with 2 cats at my feet and a cup of tea in my hands, and I'll go upstairs and have a hot bath after this. And, I'm podcast recording all day today, which is work, but I'm doing it, I feel like, from a different energy, kind of like you said earlier, that doing combined with that being. And it's thing and playing a lot more with, because if I'm just in the space of doing, it just always seems a little superficial.
Yeah. I love that we can get to play and collaborate. I think one of the things that often, talking about these hurdles, one of the things that's often been a hurdle for me is like, I took my business from offline business to an online business, which I love. And then also, sometimes that's kind of quite isolating, and I see that for a lot of women, so I love that we can get to JV and meet new people and, find all these kind of connections that we have, and just, come together and talk and share and inspire and empower other women, and grow both of our businesses in that way. So, I'm really liking that aspect, and I think that's something as well for women. In order to make that leap, sometimes I know when I've made leaps in my life, the times when, I've done it slower than I perhaps could have done, have been because it just felt so overwhelming. And so to be able to have support and to be able to connect with other people and collaborate and share, I think, again, for we're talking about this kind of like overachiever type trait, and part of that is also kind of being strong, being independent, doing it ourselves, and that's kind of like more of the masculine energy, and it's about that balance, isn't it, of the masculine and the feminine within us, and doing it.
Yeah.
Sure, there's mess, but having kind of like more being, more receiving, more ease and grace and flow, rather than that whole pushing.
And the thing, going back to the conversation of permission, this year I realized, like, my joy comes more from group trainings and hosting retreats and gathering women to be in transformation together.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I still love my private clients. I love them. And I think it's so incredibly powerful to witness what other people are going through while you're in your own transformation, because what happens is as one woman is talking about her experience, she mirrors to another woman what they're going through. And so often it's easy to see someone else going through it and to give them advice. And then when you can pause and be like, oh my gosh, I'm in the same spot, and I need to give myself more compassion, just like I'm encouraging this woman to do for herself. I think that there's so much healing and transformation that comes when women are in community. And, I found it for myself. I host like really small, intimate, private breakfasts and dinners in my home for some of my closest people, because I want to be surrounded with other women that are creating big things in the world and be on a healing journey with them. And now I get to hold space for others to be that way as well. So one of the big things that I'm excited about for 2018 is growing my group training program. And I'm starting to host retreats. Fantastic. And so I have a retreat in Los Angeles in January that is already over half sold out. I'm doing another one in Seattle in March and another one in Minneapolis in April or May. And I know that the women are going to walk away from these 3 days not only completely transformed, but with lifelong connections and community that they can lean on for years to come. during their other future transformations. And in supporting others, I think we are given permission to more deeply support ourselves. And, like you said, the collaboration in the community is the feminine. That's what we do. We're not exclusive, we're inclusive. And we as women, I just recorded a podcast episode yesterday with a dear friend of mine about women supporting women and what that truly looks like, because it's more than a hashtag. It's more than a bumper sticker. It's more than any of those things. And I think as women, we don't, I think we haven't been taught what that truly means, what the power of it is, and what it looks like.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, I love group work and do a lot of group work myself and experience a lot of group work. And there's a lot as women, I think, that, we talked about the healing that needs to go on. I think there's still room for, more of that healing and deepening into sisterhood, if you like, healing the mother wound and the sister wound, and really allowing ourselves to be present with one another and be present to what's real and what's how we really be, rather than how we think we should be. We were talking about that before we jumped on. So tell us a little bit about what you think is the biggest misconception in terms of people taking their leap of faith. I love that term.
I think there's a few. One is when you say, well, we'll start with the first one. All right. So the first one is that people want proof of their leap before they commit to it.
Oh, I've never done that.
Right? Ditto. We want the physical world to show us proof of our possibility before we'll buy in.
Yeah.
And the energy doesn't move in that way. It goes from the unseen into the seen. But if you're not willing to get some skin in the game and even say yes to that unseen desire within you, it will never be seen. What's that? I'll believe it when I see it. That's totally completely backwards.
Yeah.
But you will never see it if you don't believe it first.
Yeah.
And so I that's one thing that I really see, especially a lot of women that want to do this work. I get on the phone with them and they're like, well, but the money needs to show up first, or I need this assurance or that assurance. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. And you can continue to wait for it to show up in the physical world, and call me in 60 years because you're still going to be waiting. So I think that's like the first major one, that people don't want to commit. They don't want to say yes to that vision or that leap until they have proof, and the proof's never coming. So that's the first one. And then I would say the second one is that, and I fell into this trap this year, like full transparency, I was there this year. When you commit to something new, the foundation that you've been living on for the last however many years has to break down in order for there to be a new one built. And so what happens is people say yes to their leap, and then all of a sudden everything in their world starts falling apart, and they're like, oh my God, I made the wrong decision. And I always like to remind people, you didn't make the wrong decision. You made the right decision. Your world, your life doesn't align with this new trajectory, with this new vision of yours. And because it doesn't align, it has to break down. What's that? You can't make a cake without breaking some eggs, right? Like you can't create a new life without deconstructing the old one.
Yeah, I love that you use that word, because I talk a lot about the molecules, and it's kind of like it goes into this space of chaos, whereas I know my background has always been I've always pretended I didn't want structure, and I'm kind of like a rebel and trying to create freedom, but actually I want the structure and the order and, to get it all lined up. And so when we're doing something new, what happens is that there's this kind of chaos, and it's like we're reorchestrating all of these atoms and molecules and bringing all of these different energies into being as the creators that we are. So, it's an amazing process, and it can be quite scary when we're in that process.
Totally.
And it's like, well, where are we? What's going on?
Even
I'm
this
not in
year
anymore.
Yeah, even this year when my world was quote unquote falling apart,
Mm-hmm.
I totally fell into that, like, what is going on? This shouldn't be happening. Like, I'm supposed to be the quote unquote expert in this, right? Like, I know these things. I've done this for decades. And still, I totally was playing the victim of, like, why is my world falling apart? I don't understand why nothing's working and all these things are being taken away. And it's it's funny, the things that we convince ourselves in our brains as humans, but it's something that I think we just need to be conscious to, because it is a process that has to happen, and there's not really a whole lot you can do to prevent it. And so part of the reason I wrote this book was to just give people that basic knowledge, that basic understanding of what to expect. Because my hope is that the more people understand what actually goes into taking a leap of faith, like if you have somewhat of a skeleton, because everyone's leap of faith looks different, somewhat of a skeleton in front of you and you can kind of see it and kind of put your finger on it, my hope is that more people will say yes to that calling inside of themselves, because it won't be quite as scary, quite as unknown, quite as unpredictable.
I love that. And I think, we're here for a purpose, as I know you believe, and when we allow the fear to get in the way and we don't move forward, when we've got these callings and these opportunities that are beckoning to us or shouting at us, that we're not fulfilling our purpose, we don't feel satisfied, we feel frustrated with ourselves, and we're not living our dreams, we're not doing the work that we've come here to do that's so rewarding and fulfilling for us. So
yeah, I think fear's another big misconception, that people experience fear and they're like, oh, this means I shouldn't move forward with it. And I've found a way to kind of recondition myself, although I'm getting ready for another level and layer of reconditioning myself. But when I am experiencing fear, it means that I actually should move forward. Like, that's an indicator to me that I'm on the right path. Whereas most people experience fear and process it as I'm on the wrong path.
Yeah, and our intuition is always guiding us. To me, intuition is always kind of encouraging us and supporting us and telling us what is possible, not what's not possible. So intuition doesn't show up as fear. I know we've talked about that a lot on the podcast. So yeah, thanks for bringing that one to light and reminding us again. So you've shared so many beautiful gems and lots of wisdom, Bree. I know that you have an amazing gift that you're sharing with our listeners. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your free gift that you're offering?
Yes, in the spirit of possibility, since that's what we've been talking about, I have this lovely meditation that I crafted a few years ago, so that you can sit down and meet your future self. And you get to find out who she is, and you get to talk to her. You get to learn about what she believes and how she shows up in her life, and even little things down to what she wears and how she styles her hair. I've actually had clients change their hairstyles after doing this meditation, because they're like, oh, my future self didn't have bangs, so I'm growing out my bangs. But for me, being able to talk to my future self is so comforting, because she's already done it. She knows, like, Einstein said, the past, the present, and the future are all simultaneously coexisting. Your future self has already been through all the trials and tribulations that you're facing or are about to face. She has the answers. And the more you can cultivate a relationship with her, the easier it's been for me to face some of those things and really understand what's going on, because she's already lived it. And you can simply literally just ask her and she will tell you. And so this meditation kind of opens up that portal to get you starting to build that relationship with her, so that theoretically in the future, you know, you're somewhere in 5 years and you're like, have that relationship built. You could literally be in the grocery store and be like, what would future self choose? Like, what would future Bree do right now in this situation? And be able to get that answer.
Yeah. I love that. And, you know, future, my background's also as a transpersonal hypnotherapist, and so, and trainer, and a lot of what we would do is connect with higher self, future self guides and so forth. And, you know, so much information can come through to us when we connect with these resources. So often people are going looking outside of themselves, you know, for advice. So this is a beautiful gift. I'm really grateful that you're sharing this. So for those of you that are listening and kind of thinking about your leap of faith, or what that might look like for you, or maybe some of you that know what it looks like or think you know what it looks like and maybe you're hesitating, this is a beautiful gift for you to be able to access and tap into the resources and the wisdom that we all have within us, and to be able to find a way forward, perhaps a little bit more ease and a bit more grace, rather than the terror and the fear that sometimes comes up as we're about to leap. Yeah, so thank you so much for that, Bree. It's been such a pleasure to connect with you. Real joy. Is there anything that you want to share or leave our listeners with?
I just would really, if you have a leap or some sort of whisper inside of you, I would really, really encourage you to do whatever it takes to find a way to even just say the smallest yes to it as much as you can, because, you know, open up the news, open up the internet, go on Facebook, whatever. Our world is in a severe crisis right now, severe in many areas, on many layers, from many different aspects. And we have a responsibility to step up and to do something about it. And whatever that leap is inside of you is going to be some sort of small solution to what's going on in our world right now. And, you know, I wrote it in the book. I say it all the time. The world needs you. And your saying yes to your vision is the most important thing that you could ever do, not only for yourself, but for the world at large. And so find a way, some way to say yes to it. Somehow, whatever it takes.
Love that as well. Whatever it takes, people.
I had a reading several years ago, and the woman said she gifted that to me. Whatever it takes, to do whatever it takes, and it's something that has gotten me through a lot of really hard times. And I just remind myself, I'm here for a reason. My angels are with me. They've got my back, and I just need to show up and do whatever it takes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bree. And just we'll put the link for the future meditation gift, because I know it's a long link. Do you want to share your website so people know where they can find you?
Yeah, my website, and you can find me on all the social medias as well at Bree Seeley. That's BRIS as in Sam, EELEY.
.com.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. So we'll have all the links. Thank you so much for all that you've shared and being with us today. And I'm going to say to our wonderful...
You've been listening to the Wealthy Business Goddess Show. If you've enjoyed the show, subscribe and review our podcast. Sign up to receive your Wealthy Business Goddess resources and join us in the Wealthy Business Goddess community at www.lovekimberly.com/WBG. To find out more about how Kimberly can support you in creating the life and business of your dreams, or to watch the show via video, visit the website at www.kimberlylovell.com.